Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
I am Mason, and I'm back.
He's finally back, and his Wi-Fi's not crappy. Yay!
Woo! Yeah! I just want to say a quick apology out there to our Patreon users. Real quick, before we start doing anything, I wasn't able to get the next episode of Book Club out last week because my internet was down again for the second time within this month.
I can't believe you.
I know. It's unfortunate. Well, I guess you'll just have to tune in this week to see episode 2 of Brotherhood. And maybe we'll see about filming a second episode.
Patreon. This is going to be like real quick.
So much fun stuff coming up.
Guys, what? We have a Patreon. You should totally know. We have some cool in there, including so to favorite thing, which I think people should be excited about, is this tier right here, $66 tier. Would you like to know why, Mason? Why? Ask why.
Why is that?
Because unboxing video, and with the unboxing videos, there's a chance that you might be able to win one of the items. And honestly, it's definitely worth it because of the next one we're doing is it may or may not be a droid smith that was seen in Rise of Skywalker. So yeah. And then there's some other cool stuff that we actually just got today as well. And you have the chance to get those items. Like, I'm not talking about like a small action figure. Like, I'm talking about like collector items that are worth a lot of money. So honestly, I would head over and I would sign up for that tier because it also comes with everything else from our other tiers, which is pretty cool.
And it's got a nice little reference to Order 66 in it. We love that.
Yeah.
Execute Order 66.
Apparently I'm lagging. There's a storm, so I apologize.
It's getting better. All
right. Cool. Mason, all right. So talk about the budget for the skeleton crew, okay?
Okay. First of all, can I just say that this is a little ridiculous? No. Okay, cool. Now that I've said that, I'm good. It's wild. The biggest budget, I believe, that we've seen in a Star Wars series so far, right? $136 million. I mean, that's wild. So how much is Mandalorian? How much was the budget for Mandalorian? Do we know what that is, just as a comparison? Do like Mandalorian season 2 budget. 12.5 to individual episodes. So the individual episodes were 12.5 to $15 million, right? So if we just take the median, we'll just say like 13, right? Or like 13.5. And we multiply that by how many episodes were in season 2? Colin? Oh, he's gone. Okay. I believe there were, let's just say 8. That's only $108 million. So the fact that Skeleton Crew is going to have such a large budget is insane. And it really makes me wonder what it is they're actually going to be doing with all of that money. I mean, to be dropping that on what I'm assuming is sort of going to be Disney's or Lucasfilm's take at like a Stranger Things type of series. I wonder what all that's going to entail, especially when you're looking at that stuff. Oh, hold on for just a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Welcome back, Colin. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
I I was just telling the viewers, I believe The Mandalorian season 2 is like 8 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Of
So I
season
budgeted that out because it was particularly like 12.5 and $15 million. So I just did like 13.5, like a good median. Times 8, that's $108 million.
That's a lot.
6 minus 108. That's $28 more million that's going to be going towards this series, theoretically, than Mando season 2. What are they going to do with all that money?
For the skeleton crew.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Well,
curious. Set design, maybe? Probably a lot of CGI. I'm
so
sure it's going to be a lot of CGI. And
something
then
that
maybe big name actors.
yeah, because something that they were talking about on the Patreon Daily, I believe, was they wanted this to be the next Stranger Things, and that's something that you actually brought up without even knowing that's what they were talking about, and that on the
Yeah,
Patreon
I
Daily.
mentioned that
Yeah.
while you had to dip out for a minute. Is that
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be Disney or Lucasfilm sort of take back at Stranger Things, our Star Wars look at that, and I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see what that looks like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that it will play. So they actually referenced Stranger Things a tiny bit at the panel because they were like, it will have kids, but it's not going to be a kids show. And I was like, all right, cool. And I think you're right. I think I don't want it to be exactly like Stranger Things. I just don't want
I
them
don't
to
know
have
how
like
they could.
yeah.
Like the Upside Down doesn't really exist in Star Wars unless you're looking at like the realm of the Force or whatever.
They
That
could be
Ahsoka's
like
out.
one kid out of them is a
Force sensitive.
Jedi. Yeah, like they are force sensitive. They are learning how to use like that person's using learning how to use their powers and everything, which I think would be cool. But it's like I don't want it to be like Stranger Things. Like
Yeah.
I would love I wanted to have the 80s vibe. I would love that, but I don't want them to go
Yeah.
full out like Stranger Things. Because if they did, you could definitely tell that it's
You don't want it to be a copy. You want it to be its own thing based off of something. Yeah, I get that.
Because we don't want a situation like Force Awakens being like, hey, it's a new hope, but it's in the further future. And then you have the Last Jedi, hey, it's the Battle of Hoth, but it's not the Battle of Hoth, it's the Battle of Crate. So yeah. So I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. I want that 80s vibe. That
it's crazy how popular the 80s resurgence has been, especially here in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like affecting everything. I wonder if it didn't have to do with in part with that movie, that short film that came out a while ago, like Kung Fury on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because man, it always like after that happened, everything sort of started to pick up. And now I think it's funny because people almost like newer generations are coming into this and seeing it in this sort of like ironic way of like, oh, ha, 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 look at how things were back in the 80s. Stuff was crazy. And then like adults and people that are living in that lived in that era, it's nostalgic, Yeah. It's something they can look back and have fun memories of.
Speaking of nostalgia, sorry, I can't say that for the life of me. But speaking of that, there's a couple of actors that I wanted to talk about.
Please go ahead.
Because there is one.
I think it would also be worth recapping what exactly we know about Skeleton Crew.
Well, so there's the actor Jaleel White. And for those who don't know who that is, he played Steve Urkel.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And there's a possibility that he is going to be joining a Star Wars project. A lot of people are thinking that he is going to be part of Skeleton Crew. Now,
oh my God. That'd be hilarious.
Now this is something that David and I were talking about on a couple of podcasts ago, which was they are treating the Mandalorian and everything like it's in the same production era of the 80s, right? So they have different actors that were famous in the 80s coming back into these shows. And right. So
Okay.
I love that they're bringing in actors like that, because I cannot wait until Christopher Lloyd ends up making his Star Wars debut, because I love Back to the Future. I love Doc.
Same
And
here.
ironically, he's not the first he will not be the first Back to the Future actor to be in this, because Flea, who played Needles in Back to the Future, was seen in the first couple of episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I love that they're bringing these actors from that era into Star Wars, and to the newer Star Wars. I love that so much. And then there's the actor Dominic Monaghan, which, Mason probably doesn't know, because
Nope, I don't know actors. I'm sorry.
no, but do you know who that is?
Who is it?
I'll
Probably know.
He played Mary in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
And he was also in Lost. For those who don't know, Mason has never seen The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. He is
Or
not
Lost.
a true, which is so funny, because this kid plays Dungeons and Dragons, and his excuses. Can you tell them of what your excuse is?
I don't have an excuse. I just haven't found time to watch it. That's all.
Okay, so his excuse is, to me, and as soon as he said it, he's like, "Oh man, Colin's got a point," which is, he told me it was too long.
I don't think it's too long.
But
I
you
will
told
watch
Josh
it.
and I that. You told Josh and I
but
that.
I have told you every time since that the opposite. Okay, don't you try to call me out.
I'm using that one time because it was so funny. Because Josh and I were like, "Dude,
don't you?
You play Dungeons and Dragons. Those campaigns can last forever."
Besides, what I probably said is what I say all the time, which is like, it's too long. It's so much work.
You play Dungeons and Dragons. You cannot use that as an excuse.
Yeah, but that's with actual people, not sitting alone in a room watching a movie.
You can watch it with other people. Doesn't have to just be you sitting alone.
I have to have friends to do that, Colin, and clearly you're not one of them.
Well, clearly, if you're going to act that way, I'm not going to invite you to my next Lord of the Rings marathon.
Fine.
I
don't need your Lord
All right,
Rings
you know what? This
marathon.
podcast is done today.
No, we're over.
No,
we're through.
No, but the actor was in an interview recently and was asked on what his experience was like in Rise of Skywalker. And he had a small role, but he's good friends with J.J. Abrams, and he just praised J.J. Abrams a lot. And he talked about, him possibly coming back in future projects that's like post Rise of Skywalker, which I think would be, cool and it would be interesting, because these movies were very controversial because the scripts changed a lot. A lot of the character arcs changed a lot. Finn was supposed to have this really cool story of going from a stormtrooper to a Jedi, and he never fully got that. And now we're getting that in Lego, and it's like, that should have been live action. And we didn't get that.
Here's a hill I'll die on. I think Disney should go back and redo the sequel movies. One way
Not
or the
gonna
other.
happen. I would be so surprised.
I would too. I don't think it's gonna happen either. I don't even care what happens to the previous ones. They could stay canon. I don't care. Like the ones that are out now, it doesn't matter. But I feel like they should go back, rewrite some scripts, or like go back and do it like what J.J. Abrams was going to originally do, or find a way to redo it with all of the same actors. That way they get that love and praise that they deserve for doing Star Wars.
So something that I think that The Mandalorian and all these shows between that time from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens, and I've said this in the past, where they are doing what they did in the Clone Wars era, where they had episode 1 and 2, and then 3 came out, and it was like, oh, it's just the prequels. But then when they made the Clone Wars TV show, it made you appreciate Revenge of the Sith and the prequels even more. And I think that's what they're doing, because a fine example is in the next season of Mando. You have the character from Rise of Skywalker, Babu Frick. He is
What?
making an appearance, including his species as well.
In Mando season 3?
Yes, that
No.
was seen at the he was seen and including his species and the trailer that was shown at Star Wars Celebration
Are you serious?
at the Mandalorian Plus panel. Yeah. So it was like, oh, cool. So they are tying in the sequels even more now, which I think is really, really cool. But I don't know. I think that if they did something like that, it would, I don't know. We'll have to see. Because of I loved those movies. I loved seeing them in the theater, including including The Last Jedi. I remember walking out being shocked, but I remember that feeling going in, being like, "Oh my gosh, like it's another Star Wars movie." And then when Rise of Skywalker came out and that trailer dropped, and I was like, "All right, let's go," because of the hype of Celebration. So I'm very, very hopeful that we'll be getting more redeeming things for the sequel trilogy within the Mandalorian, all of these other shows between that gap. And I think that's what they're doing.
I agree. It does seem like we're sort of moving towards that, especially with the like pseudo cloning kind of stuff that we're seeing in Mandalorian. I'm very curious about like what's happening with all of that. And that seems like a really good predecessor to trying to explain the stuff with Palpatine. And I feel like we've talked about this before in the podcast, but I still think that holds. I have yet to see anything that sort of contradicts that. So we'll see. Here's the thing. I don't know if I'm really gonna love the sequel trilogy regardless, just because honestly, like Rise of Skywalker 9 as a film, I just didn't think it was a good film. And this has been talked about all over the place now, but like I hate how they rush to the intro sequence to try and make up for everything in 8. Like the movie felt like it felt like the movie was made to butt heads with another director instead of actually be entertaining to watch. It really felt like it was just the two directors, Rian Johnson and the guy like fighting with each other, J.J. Abrams. So I don't know. We'll see. I quite frankly would love to see explored the sort of canon that could have been, whether that be in like a Legend series that takes place in a different timeline or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like we should hold these companies responsible for making these big films and taking such a big franchise. I think we should be able as viewers to hold them responsible for these films that they make. And I feel like, as fans, it should be our job to reach out and tell them like, hey, this could have been better. We want this redone. We want this remade. We all sort of agree that we want to see these characters shine. And we want to see it done in the way that it was originally intended, instead of this, bickering match. So who knows what could have been, I suppose. What else do we got lined up here? Andor TV spot reveals new footage on the Star Wars Newsnet. Very excited for Andor. I can't wait to see what's going to be happening with that TV show. Oh man, there's going to be so much happening, especially when it comes to seeing the sort of darker phases of the rebellion, unlike something that we've sort of seen before. Welcome back. We were moving on to the Andor footage.
You don't have to tell people when I go.
What?
Oh, I would say you don't have to tell.
Oh yeah,
people
no. It's okay. You're fine. Go ahead. What about this new footage?
Oh, of what?
Andor.
Oh yeah, okay. So there was a teaser that was dropped online, and then as for a lot of people that didn't get to see it, it got pulled right away. But a lot of people kept the footage. But there are some new images there. But what's also nice about it is that they kind of confirmed that there's going to be the first 2 episodes. It sounds like that they will drop 2 episodes of Andor at once, like they did with Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think is a good call. I'm hoping that's the case, but
It seems like an easy way to get hooked, because it seems like we've been seeing a lot of this recently. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of instances where TV shows drop like 2 or 3 episodes at once, or drop as a whole series at once. But I think like the formula of dropping these first 2 episodes gives you just enough to like binge and get hooked on it. And then they can sort of drip feed the rest of the series to span it out.
My thing is that is going to be a busy weekend. A very busy weekend, because 3 different streaming platforms are dropping huge shows, right? So you've got Andor, you've got The Rings of Power, and then you have Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. That's huge. That is a huge nerd weekend. You can't top that. And then, for those con goers, that weekend is also Dragon Con. So that is going to be a very busy, nerdy weekend. And there's a lot of content to watch. And if they do drop the first 2 episodes of Andor, smart move on their part, because they've got some competition that weekend.
Yeah.
And then they'll actually be in competition with themselves. Star Wars will, because they will be overlapping shortly through like the year, like as the months kind of pass, they'll be overlapping with Bad Batch season 2, and they'll also be overlapping with Tales of the Jedi. So you have all that, passing through. But hey, look, Mason, you're not alone. Wow.
See? Thank you, Mob Rules. I appreciate it. Maybe it's overhyped. Maybe it's Maybelline. Just saying. Never watched Lord of the Rings, is what Mob Rules said.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's fine. You like both were uncultured, and that's okay. Anyways,
on the bright side, us here at the Star Wars Stuff podcast, it won't really be a busy week for us because we can't talk about that other stuff. So you'll be hearing about Andor.
Well, we have, we are friends with other podcasts.
Maybe we'll do some sliding into other people's podcasts.
Well, there is my friend Josh, our sister podcast, the Marvel Stuff podcast. One of the co-hosts over there, Josh, is the founder of another podcast called Radioactive Paper Cuts, and they just talk all like nerdy stuff. So DC, Marvel, not much Marvel because Marvel stuff, but they talk about Game of Thrones, all that stuff on that podcast. So I might be a guest on that a decent amount because I have a lot to say about the all the Lord of the Rings stuff but yeah. So
I mean, I jest. I am going to watch Lord of the Rings though eventually.
You will watch it with me.
I just don't watch a lot of movies.
You will watch it with me, Mason.
I will watch it with Colin. You heard it here, folks.
Yes.
Live stream my reaction.
So someone I work with, I don't know if you might know them, but they always bring this up and they always try to annoy me with it. And it's called and they always ask people, are all stormtroopers bad? And
I know who you're talking about.
and I want to end this debate because it's not even a debate. No, I'm not talking about the defectors of the First Order. If they are defecting, at that point they're no longer stormtroopers.
Well, is it First Order stormtroopers or Imperial stormtroopers? Doesn't
And
matter.
now that's something that I was talking about with a friend Jeff over who's a friend from another podcast, Talk with Your Mouth Full, Jeff. I was talking to him and he said, well, if you're talking about, stormtroopers from the First Order, they were kidnapped as kids. So they didn't have a choice.
They've literally been brainwashed their entire lives to believe that the First Order is the only option.
Right. But I'm talking about actual stormtroopers, like full out that are part of the of the actual Empire and First Order, not the defectors. I'm not counting the defectors because as soon as they make that decision, I'm no longer, doing what the First Order wants to do, then boom, they're done. So in my opinion, I think if you're part of the Empire, I think if you're part of the First Order, then yeah, you're not good. But I think when you make the decision to leave, then you're no longer part of the First Order. So
I don't necessarily think that makes them all exactly bad either. There are a lot of evil people in the Empire, but I also think that there's a morally gray area that's to be found. Because some of them are, at least in the Empire, not in the First Order. The First Order is like completely evil. It's hard to justify what they do.
They blew up planets.
So did the Empire.
Exactly. It's not good. You're not a good person if you're part of that.
Right, but some of them are there, at least within the Empire, because they feel that they're doing good for the galaxy. They feel that them bringing order.
You cannot justify a blowing up machine of planets, bro. That's genocide. That's not good. You cannot justify that.
Right. But whenever you're talking about morality, it's such a gray area. Like Darth Vader, let me put it like this. Darth Vader likes being bad, he enjoys it, and he wants to hurt people.
But you can't justify. Okay, all right. You know
what?
But
most of the stormtroopers in the Empire are just people doing their jobs. They're like, I get paid or my family gets killed.
That's not okay. All right,
but that's not bad. That's a human thing to do.
It is bad though because you are part of an organization that is bringing peace to the galaxy, but in reality, it's causing a lot of damage for control for one guy.
But most of them, I guess pre-Death Star didn't know what was actually going on behind the scenes.
What, clones?
Most stormtroopers didn't know what was actually going on. Like, they didn't understand what the Empire was actually doing to the people of these planets. I guess post Alderaan is when most of the defectors sort of happened, and there was that big shift, that big change. But like before that, most of the time, Imperial officers could justify the means to their ends. Because they're like, okay, I'm cool. I'm here. I'm helping out the galaxy, bringing order to these planets. We're ending this war, which is really great. And at the end of the day, I get to help my family out, maybe get some promotions, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is shoot a couple rebels to feed my family. I mean, that's fine. There's always going to be resistance to a new government.
That's fine.
Right?
That's fine. Okay, Mason.
I mean, speaking as that character, I don't think that's fine. Obviously they are bad people doing bad things. They blew up
planets. Okay. So listen.
Pre-Death Star. Before you go on any tangent, pre-Death Star.
No, not pre-Death Star. It was still bad. They were. Listen. If you're a stormtrooper and you know what? Here's a fine example from Star Wars Rebels, right?
Right.
You are on Lothal. There
Right.
is an Imperial officer trying to buy you off your farm, right? So then they can use that all those acres for a factory to build parts for the Empire for the ships and everything. Okay. You say no. Should be the end of that, right? The Empire goes in, kicks you off your farm, and puts you into an Imperial prison.
Okay, but
Explain
you're
how you
looking at
can
it.
justify that.
You are looking at that from the rebels' point of view. From the Empire's point of
What
view,
do you
that
mean?
farmer, from the Empire's point of view, we're not talking about officers. We're talking about stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers were
Right?
there putting the people in there. How do they know?
Right. But what the stormtroopers are probably told is this guy's a terrorist. He's harboring weapons, this or that or the other, that's going to be used to bomb the factory. That's going to hurt your brothers and sisters that you work with, right? Okay, so look at it this way. If you're a stormtrooper and you're told these terrorists, these insurgents are trying to disrupt the peace on this planet because they're strictly opposed just to our rule, right? And they're shooting up your brothers and sisters, they're walking around with blaster rifles, causing these acts of terror. They're blowing up their own people to try and resist. What does that look like to you when you're the stormtrooper in that, in that regime? Oh, I need to go take care of these guys. These are bad dudes. And this is something that's talked about all the time in Star Wars, is that it's never meant to just be good and evil all the time. There's always that gray area that's in the middle. There's always that one guy who's being fed the wrong information, who's doing the wrong thing. That's why defectors are defectors. Because they are the stormtroopers that were like, oh my god, they got fed the right information.
I don't know, man.
So what we're doing here is bad. And a lot of stormtroopers just don't get that. Now, I will say almost all the Imperial officers we've seen, they're bad guys. Like 100%. Like, I feel like most Imperial high command are bad people. Unless they defect. But stormtroopers, man, they're literally just getting pointed in a direction. They're like, here's your blaster rifle, here's your armor, go do the things.
Well, no, hang on. Now, the biggest difference between the First Order and the Empire was that everyone that joined the Empire joined by choice, knowing what they were doing, right? So they knew that the Empire was trying to bring peace to the galaxy.
Yes.
Okay, now I understand not knowing everything, but there are a lot of stormtroopers in the Imperial Army that witnessed horrific things, and they kept staying with them. And they did
defect. And they're the bad guys, right?
Right. I know, but there is not a lot of reported. Actually, to be honest, I can't come up with any Imperial like deserters in my head. But here's my thing. If you know something is bad, and
there are a lot of Imperial
this is a life lesson.
God.
This is a life lesson. If you know something is bad and you stay with it and you keep doing the bad thing, then you are technically are in the wrong. You technically are in the wrong. So henceforth, those stormtroopers that stayed are bad. Now, there isn't really any recorded stormtrooper deserters, but that unless they were clones. Like for example, there was Gregor, right? But he was never really a stormtrooper. But
I think it is listed. I think it is listed or implied that there are a lot of deserters from like the ranks of stormtroopers. The problem is that most stormtroopers just aren't important enough to be named characters. But you hear a lot in books of like these one-off characters that'll be like, oh yeah, I used to be a stormtrooper. I worked with the Empire until the destruction of Alderaan. And that's why I use it as that baseline, because once Alderaan was destroyed, everyone in the Empire knew. Like that is when everyone physically had to make that choice of, do I
it's true.
do I stay with the Empire, or do I go and fight with the rebellion to do what's right? And you know what? There are still some people who stayed after the destruction of Alderaan and then deserted shortly after. So it's like you say, where do you draw the line? Because the stormtroopers are just soldiers too, and they're being fed information. This is specifically for the Empire. The First Order, that's a whole different scenario. But with the Empire in general, they sign up, a lot of them probably to feed their families, get work, get their family promotions. They're told that the Empire is going out and helping the galaxy, bringing a war to an end. A lot of these people are coming fresh out of the Clone Wars. They give these guys blaster rifles, they give these guys armor, and then they're like, okay, go do this stuff. Glory to the Empire. Am I right, guys? Here's your paycheck.
Okay,
and then
Josh.
they're like, okay, you're going to go defeat some insurgents because they're hurting these people.
All right, Josh.
Yeah.
Are all stormtroopers bad? Yes or no?
Ooh, that's your isn't that your like your soldier comment where it's like the catch-22? Yeah, that's hard because I mean there's definitely some.
I don't count. Listen, I don't count the deserters. You are bad, and you are bad unto the point that you realize that there is an issue with what you're doing. As soon as you leave, you are no longer part of that. All of the deserters after they leave, all right, are no longer stormtroopers. So that's the whole point of the word deserter, right? You are leaving something that you were. So you are no longer a stormtrooper. After that, boom.
But I mean, of course you'll have the people who do something bad.
You want to know who was a stormtrooper deserter? Not only just the guy, there were a couple people from Mando season 2. The ex-Imperial sharpshooter that helped destroy the factory.
Correct, but at the time he was bad. But then when he left, he was no longer a stormtrooper. So
no, I'm just saying that's not an argument to that point. That's just saying from earlier.
I can see Josh rolling his eyes.
Anyway, that is one.
I mean, you can do something bad for a good purpose because I mean we all know that was a new way to get paid in the galaxy. So I mean, like,
yeah.
This is So what I'm coming from, juxtaposed to Colin, is that a lot of these stormtroopers we can only assume signed up to feed their families and get a paycheck. Like there is always that gray area. And here's the thing: who knows how controlled the information going to these stormtroopers was? So where a man losing his farm and his family and whatnot because an Imperial, officer went a new bachelor pad. He sees that as evil. What the stormtroopers are probably hearing is, oh, this rebel insurgent is hiding weapons and stowing away spice and all these bad things, and they're going to use them to hurt your brothers and sisters and hurt the people of this planet. So we need to go out and take them out before they can hurt the people of this planet.
And I think that there does come a time in every stormtrooper's life or anyone who is a part of the Empire where they'll be like, oh, I can now think for myself and be like, yeah, we probably just did something really, really bad.
I think that divisible line is the destruction of Alderaan. That is the point at which everybody in the Empire knew what the Empire was.
Yeah, I mean, we you even see it in Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
You see that in the book Lost Stars is a great example of that. We get to sort of witness the Alderaan being destroyed, and it mentions the tension in the room. So in theory, to sum this up, I just think it's a bad question. Yeah. I don't like questions like that because I think they limit our capacity to see those gray areas.
Well, then
I don't think everything has to have a black and white answer.
Well, then you tell the person that keeps spamming me at work.
I will tell them that
because that's the whole reason why I brought it up. But yeah, no, I just thought that was an interesting topic. But on the but of the other one that I wanted to talk about was the ship of Mando. Which one is better? Is it his Naboo Starfighter or the Razor Crest?
Razor Crest easily.
A lot of people voted the Razor Crest. I like the Razor Crest. I also really like the Naboo Starfighter, but it's not.
Here's the problem.
I like them both easily, like equal. The thing is, but as soon as you say like, "Hey, I'm a bounty hunter," and they took us through we got to see inside of the Razor Crest. There's so much of him like walking around. You got to see all the people like frozen in Beskar. That was a bounty hunter ship. Whereas like you get Naboo Starfighter, and you're like, yeah, it's you do your battle in it and then you go back. It's not like you're traveling in it all the time.
No.
That's why when you see it, you're like that would have been great for like a few episodes, in my opinion, not as his new
right
ship.
Here's the problem with it. Whenever you commit to being a bounty hunter, you have to have something that can transport bounties and all of your gear, because each bounty is going to require a different piece of gear. That is why bounty hunters are so favored to using freighters and gunships. That's why Boba Fett uses Slave One. It's a gunship. The Razor Crest is a gunship.
Yeah. They
pack a lot of firepower. They're hard to take down. And more importantly, they have a lot of storage space for just one person. Because, that's the only person that's going to be piloting that ship. That's the only person you're going to need is you. So I'm very curious to see what direction Din's life is going to take having just a starfighter, because that means he can only do on-planet bounties. Unless he transports them via like the Star Tours.
He could always he could always get a trailer and
a trailer,
and he could just pull it around, and it would have people in carbonite and stuff. And I think it would work well.
U-Haul.
It's funny because
those mini U-Hauls.
It's a cute joke to have Grogu in like the little droid pod, but they're like even separated. So I was kind of like, maybe this means that we won't get them as much in space and much of a space action kind of thing. You'll see in season 3, it's more going to focus on just them going from place to place.
So I would have agreed with that if I didn't see the full trailer for season 3 of Mando. And there's a lot of space, dude. There's a lot of space, there's a lot of space combat in the trailer, and it looks like different shots. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to be on the edge of our seats for those dogfights because it looked incredible. It definitely had the Empire Strikes Back vibe. You also saw and the reason why I say the Empire Strikes Back vibe, because most of the fights that we saw were taking place in a asteroid field, and there was this goofy looking star destroyer that we've never seen. It looks modified, and it just looked wild. And you saw Mando getting chased by not TIE fighters, but by some other type of ships. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but that doesn't mean he's going to be doing a lot of planet hopping. Maybe all the star battle like takes place over one planet. Maybe it all takes place over Mandalore. Who knows?
So what characters do you guys really want to see come back in Mando season 3?
Now that I know that you said Babu Frick is going to be in Mando season 3, I'm very curious to see how that's going to work.
Yeah. I think they'll go. I don't think they will go to Kijimi. I think they'll go somewhere else, and then he'll be there working and stuff.
I want to see most of Clan Ren in live action. That would be great.
I think we will.
More Mandalorians.
There is something else that. Did you see anything else on screen that had you interested when you watched the preview trailer thing?
So, all right, we have something on Patreon called Rogue Rumors, and it's something that we kind of talked about on there. But from the trailer, we kind of got a description of what one scene was. Josh, are you good?
Yeah, no, it's just lightning.
And there's a scene where you see a bunch of Mandalorians running out, and it's on this desert type planet. But you know, we didn't think it was going to be Tatooine.
Please no.
But it sounds like it's going to be
on the sands of Tatooine.
No.
I mean, Mandalore is also a desert, though, so don't put that out there.
But that's different, though.
Is it?
Yes, there are no dune seas on planet Mandalore.
Do we know that?
All.
We don't really know anything about Mandalore.
We have seen most of the planet. That's not true, Mason. We have seen most of the planet, and
we've never seen anything outside of the capital of Sundari.
Bet cap. I 100% call cap on that, sir.
Okay,
Rebels, Clone Wars. Are you kidding me?
No, most of that takes place on the planet's moon, Concordia.
Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
It does. I assure you that, like, with all the trees and the snow, that's on Concordia.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the planet. Mason, do you not remember the first couple of episodes of season 4? Think about it. Season 4 of Star Wars.
All I remember is seeing like the outside view of Mandalore.
That was on Mandalore. All that was on Mandalore. Those first couple of episodes of season 4 took place in Mandalore because
I'll rewatch it. Hold on.
Bo-Katan gets this on the planet of Mandalore.
So in the trailer, you've seen what you would assume is Mandalore on screen.
Yes, like of live action, but of that scene that I was talking about, you know, of where the Mandalorian talk like where a bunch of them like run out and stuff, and I believe it's Paz Vizsla has like his chain gun and he's like, you know, firing at people. Apparently, it's gonna tie into them going back to Tatooine, and somehow they're tracking them down. But apparently, Boba and possibly a certain Wookiee will be involved in that, which makes sense because I didn't think we would not ever see them again. But I didn't think we would see them that quick. But apparently, that might happen. Yeah. Interesting. I know. But yeah, so that is something to look forward to. I am excited for Mando season 3. I don't know if we'll get any original like.
You're right. You're correct. I don't think we've seen most of Mandalore.
I know I was right.
That takes place on Mandalore. I don't think we've seen most of Mandalore. That is, yeah. Okay, but I will say, like, Mandalore does have X-Men. So are you sure you saw like Dune Seas?
I said there is no Dune Seas. Are you even listening to me? I said no, there are no Dune Seas on Mandalore. And then you were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, we have seen a decent amount of the planet Mandalore. And you're like, name where? And I'm like, Rebels, Clone Wars. And you're like, no.
Well, I don't know. I still don't think that qualifies as a lot of the planet, but you are correct.
So you're saying, are you saying it's like a Cloud City kind of thing where it's like Mandalore's like only like a city on the planet and then the rest is whatever because there's like mines for Beskar? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying like Mandalore is a huge planet. So I don't know.
As far as what we've seen on screen, there are no Dune Seas
for sure
at all.
Sure
at all. There are,
and
there
you said
are
in the
caverns,
trailer that you were talking about with Mandalorians, canyons. There are Dune Seas.
No, I never said
there
that.
are not. Oh, okay. Word. Never mind. Cool. All right. Well, then no, I was not listening. Cool. All right.
Wow. I'm so glad we had that conversation. Okay.
Really good. Really good combo. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me excited. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I didn't want to believe that we were getting another series on Tatooine.
No. So
that's why I was fighting so hard for that. I was like,
I
please let it be
think-
Mandalore.
I think we will. So we will see Mandalore in season 3
Good.
of Mando, but we will
Yeah.
probably see Tatooine again, is what it sounds like, because of from that shot from the trailer that I'm talking about, of where you see a bunch of the Mandalorians like kind of come out in the sandy area. I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it was Tatooine because I'm so used to seeing Dune Seas and
No.
everything. But it
No,
sounds like
please,
we are going
no.
back to Tatooine.
No. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That planet is becoming like literally PTSD.
As
Please stop,
honestly,
please.
as long as Max Rebo makes a cameo,
No.
I'm fine.
Max Rebo's on Mandalore whenever
Absolute-
it gets bombed.
Why do we have to keep coming
No,
back
that-
to this place?
But that doesn't make sense, Mason, because of it's already been bombed, and we know that Max Rebo is alive during the Book of Boba Fett. So that's already happened during the timeline.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean,
What about his
fortunately,
brother? Could be his brother. His brother's
could be his
alive.
brother. Yeah, twin brother.
He doesn't have a twin.
Dax.
No,
Dax
stop.
Rebo.
Dax Rebo.
Yeah, the one that's got the legs like this.
Dex Rebo.
Those arms that are like
Yeah.
that's only like 2 arms.
That is actually
the original
true.
Max Rebo.
No. Like Josh isn't kidding. Like Max Rebo actually has a brother. So
Is he
they're
really?
yeah.
Yeah, take that back, huh? Yes, he has a brother in the
Tatooine
comics,
for the
and
dancing.
they have only the 2-leg thing. They got the 2-leg.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's because
I
of
can't wait.
because
I
of
wanna see more
then
Mandalorian.
because of then you've got, honestly, I think I should just do a whole episode on Patreon where I just dive deep into the lore of Max Rebo. I think people
That would be very
interested.
I would pay to watch that.
I would pay to watch that.
And welcome back to
The Max Rebo Stuff podcast.
no. It would have to be like a whole like segment. Like what? Like,
The Max Rebo Stuff Jizz cast.
Welcome
We talk
back
all
to
things jizz. That's literally perfect.
we were doing so great. For the love of God, stop.
It's
Jeez,
it's a good music style.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anyways, God. But yeah, no, I'm hoping that we dive deeper into the lore of the Mandalorian people, which I think we will, and I think that that this season is going to blow everyone away. I'm thinking a main character will die. I don't think it's going to be Mando. I don't think it's going to be,
We're gonna see Grogu get iced live on screen.
I could see it being Grief Garga. I could see it being him. I don't know.
I feel like we'll probably see a lot of people die.
So something that Josh missed, that we were talking about earlier, was the actor who played Steve Urkel is going to be. It sounds like he will be in possibly in Skeleton Crew or an upcoming Star Wars project. And how do you feel about that? Because I love that they're bringing characters from that era of the 80s going into the 90s.
I think having him in Skeleton Crew, and we know that Skeleton Crew has the biggest budget of any Star Wars
Yep.
production.
Yeah, and that's something that we talked about earlier too.
Do we have any information on this show besides that?
Hey,
What have you seen anything?
and I'm about to show you. Ready? Hang on. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It's gonna be right here. We go. Jude Law's in it. That
Nice.
was their main selling point was that this will take place during the same time as The Mandalorian, and that it has kids in it, but it's not going to be a kids show. It's going to have that Stranger Things type vibe, and that Jude Law is in the show. And then that was all they told us, bro.
What?
Yeah, I know. And they also started. They already started filming. So
Okay.
yeah.
I wish that made more sense, but
Yeah.
it is.
Well, I'm thinking people at D23 will have the chance to see something more of Skeleton Crew. I think we might get more. I'm hoping a cast announcement at least,
That would be nice.
because I'm just curious.
Biggest
Now,
production value and money is wise, but we have like the least information out of any project.
you
That's
need
exciting.
a good cast to like
It's
pull
very
something
exciting.
like this off, because something that Mason and I were talking about earlier, which I think they talked about on Patreon Daily, which was they were gonna try and make this like the Star Wars version of Stranger Things.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I mean, so it would be, it would dive deeper into, maybe things that we didn't know about. Like, for example, maybe there is one kid among all of the other kids on the ship that is force sensitive. And which again, I know it'd be like, well, oh my gosh, it's 11, but it's like, I don't know. I
I
think they're going for that vibe.
What I thought is that it's sort of going to be about these kids, much like in Stranger Things, getting in over their heads. Like kids just trying to be kids and then accidentally getting into like some weird, crazy force call stuff. That's what I feel like.
Oh my gosh, it's like these kids. Is that like a actual?
Yes. Yep.
Oh. Okay, and they have like a mini Max Rebo. Understandable.
Listen, that was the first thing that like popped in my head, and I was about to scream, and the audience of being like, is that Max Rebo's son? Didn't say anything. I should have, but I didn't.
Max
Rebo. But yeah,
no, it's a bunch of kids that end up going to this planet, and then the planet ends up having a Sith temple on it, and then they end up
wacky hijinks ensues.
And they're inside the Sith temple, and it's like Indiana Jones, but they're trying to leave, and they got to figure out a way, and that's the skeleton.
Or maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's a bunch of different planets. And they're like hopping in this rinky-dink ship.
I am hoping that we go to new planets.
Goodness, please, not Tatooine, please.
Do not go to Tatooine. I mean, I would love for this to be the one series where we don't go to Tatooine. I think that would be great, because of all the new Star Wars live action projects have gone to Tatooine at least once in one of their shows. So it's like, let this be the one that breaks the cycle, because it sounds like we are going in the next season for Mando, and it's gonna be funny if they end up like up of somebody like, oh no, our ship's out of gas, and they just go to like Mos Eisley.
We gotta stop at Tatooine.
Oh my god, pod racing! We have to go watch a race.
The ship breaks down. They get stuck on Tatooine for 3 more episodes.
Oh my gosh, it's a cameo from Watto. He's like a very old man. Like he's like, hey.
Oh goodness! Please no.
Yeah.
You remind me of the little kid that I used to know.
His name was Anakin
Skywalker. So awful.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's the main stuff that we know about the Skeleton Crew. John Watts is not doing Fantastic Four mainly because of this. So that is exciting. I think that the show has the potential of being very good. And I was trying to find
very good in a different way.
Yes,
very exciting to me.
Yes, because
they want to have that. Like, I don't know. Have you seen Super 8 by any chance?
Yes, I have.
Like, if it has that kind of vibe,
yeah,
I would love it.
Look at that, man.
I think what it would be is like it's basically like Stranger Things. They're trying to hide something. That something is like it's like an ET situation.
I want that 80s vibe. I've been saying this for a while. I want it to be like I'm putting in an old VHS tape into a VCR and just kicking back on a Saturday morning and just watching the crap out of it. Like that is the vibe that I want out of this. I want that mystery. I want the 80s vibe. And I think they are continuing that.
I want it
tradition
to come
of-
out on VHS.
Yes, exactly. So no, I think the show is going to be great. I love that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni do have involvement with it, so you know that it's going to be good. I love how they are having a lot of involvement with all of the live action Star Wars stuff, because they were kind of the pioneers for live action Star Wars TV shows. And I think that was such a great call. And Dave Filoni was like the real pioneer with George Lucas for, a Star Wars TV show. So it's great to have these people part of that journey. And I was baffled by the name of it because of when they were like, all right, we have this new show coming out. It's called The Skeleton Crew. I sat there and I was like, what? So I don't know. I got a feeling that this one is definitely gonna blow people away. It's a high budget for a show. It's not $1 billion like the Rings of Power, but it's.
Do we know when it takes place?
It takes place during the Mandalorian timeline, so there's a chance of a crossover.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, they are leading up to a Avengers Endgame type event, and it's gonna be funny when they end up fighting Thrawn, and you'll have some people from the Skeleton Crew. You'll have Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, Mando, like just like
these four kids in a rinky-dink ship.
Yeah, Avengers, and then
you just have like Grogu at the front, like
Avengers assemble, and that would be so funny if
for those of you that get it, that scene from Thor Ragnarok.
What?
Have you seen it?
Thor Ragnarok.
I'm sorry, not Ragnarok.
Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Oh,
yeah.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
that was
sorry.
I have not seen that movie
years ago.
You have not? That scene, Colin? You know the one.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No. I don't want them to do that because of so I would be baffled. I would be baffled if they ended up.
Don't say anything. No spoilers.
No. I'm not talking about Thor anymore. I'm talking about what we're supposed to be talking about. No, but the
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that it would be crazy if we ended up getting Grogu's first words in Mando season 3. But I'm just curious of what he would sound like. Do you think
Baby Yoda?
Well, he is all right. So he is past 50 years old at this point. So it's not like he's gonna have like a hi guys. Like
is it not possible?
I don't know.
We've heard the way his voice sounds through his screeches.
Yeah.
See, I would like him to never be able to say any words, but have a way for him to finally like mind communicate with Mando.
With Mando, yeah.
I think that would be cool. Like he may never say anything.
It's like
we just have a point where like he just talks to Mando like telepathically. And Mando finally clicks with it, and he's like, "Oh, okay,
oh,
cool. Wow, that's great, wow."
This is how you sound like in my head. I don't like that.
The thing is,
we never hear it. I think that would be cool because I don't think they're ever probably going to be like he starts talking. I think they're going to be like Mando actually gets to understand what's being said.
I think
the thing is that I'm curious about. Is how that would make that work, right? Because I think so far in Star Wars canon, it's been alluded to that you can't really connect with someone in a way that they'll understand you if it's not two Force sensitives coming together. We've seen the Force influence like creatures and animals with like mind control and like where they will use the Force to like calm an animal's
Because they're
emotions.
gonna say that Din's family is Force sensitive, and he's Force sensitive too. Watch
Can we just have Grogu?
maybe he's
just
like the
voiced by-
descendant of Mandalore the Great or something like that.
Can we just have
We don't know
Grogu
anything about him.
voiced by Morgan Freeman, and then just
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
we say he's like a super.
like,
Really?
yes, I'm Morgan Freeman, and like I don't know.
These stormtroopers are not
Yeah.
good.
look at Josh Cringe.
And green.
Max. Oh. Here we go. Max Rebo doesn't speak either, but good connection. I
Max
totally
Rebo's Force
agree, bro.
sensitive. You heard it here first.
Yeah. No. I don't know. There's a lot of all right. So there's actually a lot of things that we know that are gonna happen in Mando season 3, but that's for our segment on the Patreon, on our Patreon, which is called Rogue Rumors. So check that out. But that's actually something that I will talk to you guys after the podcast about, because I think you would definitely be interested in that. But yeah, no. There's a lot of
Excited.
cool
Can't wait.
Star
I
Wars.
do love Mandalorian stuff.
There's a lot of cool.
I
Star
like I
Wars
said, like I know you asked like characters that we would like to see within the series. Like my answer is definitely going to be like most of Clan Ren. I want to see Clan Ren. I want to see what happened to them, and I want to see if they were able to like build back up their numbers and become a large clan again. But the thing that I'm most interested in seeing in general in Star Wars is more lore about the Darksaber and more lore about Mandalore the Great and what happened to him and why he's the only Mandalorian Jedi that we know of. And what makes the Darksaber different from other lightsabers.
Do you want Mando to end up like being Force sensitive in a way?
I don't want that, but I don't not want that, if that makes sense.
That would be what,
I'm
dude.
open-
How crazy
I'm
would it
open
be?
to
Just
I'm
like
open to surprises.
I'm a Jedi, and then just comment in, and then Grogu ends up training him. Oh, how crazy would that be?
I don't know.
We know that Grogu is the key to the past, the present, and the future of Star Wars currently. So pushing it forward is going to be very interesting and seeing where that goes. I want to see where Grogu fits in all of this, to be honest.
Especially in the sequel trilogy, because they
Yes,
like have
definitely.
to explain that. Like,
Him and
Grogu is
Rey
very
hanging out.
powerful. Yeah.
Him and Rey in a TV show, wouldn't doubt it.
If
That
Din
would
is
be
not Force
crazy.
sensitive, then great. And if he is, then I want to see a good reason for that. And I want to see a good story come out.
Okay, are you a firm believer of that you have to have magical parents to be magical, or can you just be magical on your own?
I don't know.
I like when they said that in was it episode 8 that you could just randomly be. I was like, I love this. This is a great idea. There's just Force sensitives everywhere.
Well, to me, that was always implied because if you watch the Clone Wars, right? There are a bunch of kids that were just Force sensitive randomly, like Ahsoka. Her parents really Force
they would
sensitive as far as
separate
we know.
siblings and stuff like that because of that, right? Because like the brother would be Force sensitive, but the sister wouldn't.
Yeah,
and they would like break up families.
There are, to me, that was always implied. I mean. That concept that you're talking about sounds like Harry Potter, where it's like, if both parents are magical, I believe it's called pure blood.
So but I feel like they tried to do that with Star Wars sequel trilogy, because originally Rey was just going to be like, actually, you know what? I have no one. And then they're like, just kidding. Palpatine. And we were all like,
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, that was the first time besides Luke and Leia from Anakin was like the first time where like I saw it. I know some people thought about like that back in the day, like before the prequels, but once the prequels came out and it was like, well, here's Obi-Wan and here's Qui-Gon and Mace Windu and all these people. And it doesn't sound like their parents were Force sensitive. It's like, oh, okay. And then we found out later, like, that the Jedi would go to different, families and be like, hey, your child is force sensitive. I saw it through
The
this
Force
hologram.
chooses who's force
Yeah.
sensitive. I like that.
Yeah.
But we
I
never
think
saw that past the original trilogy.
Right.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
So I didn't think that was the thing in episode 8. I thought that was like a thing a long time ago. I like
Oh no! I mean, like what I'm saying is, it was your first emergence of that being a thing past the original trilogy.
correct.
And
I
when
did not
they're
get
just
that
like pulled a
vibe
180
until
on that, I was like,
right. Yeah, because of I did not get that vibe until until the prequels, and in the original trilogy, 100%. I was like, okay, well, Luke's force sensitive because his dad is Vader. Same with Leia, and then you never really knew about Obi-Wan or Yoda or anything growing up until you saw the prequels and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess I never thought about it that way. Huh.
Yeah.
It is kind of a prequels thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Weird.
So
But yeah,
if
I feel like the anybody can be force sensitive.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more what I subscribe to and what I want to see more of.
So why don't you like episode 8 when that was the whole story? It's literally like the whole thing. It's like being like, your preconceptions are wrong. Actually, Rey is nobody. And look at this child. And he is actually nobody as well, but he has the Force.
Yep.
And so does she. And anyone can have the Force.
Are
They
you
don't need
talking
magical
about our
grandpa.
favorite character, Broom Boy? Love
Yes.
that guy.
Yeah, Broom Kid.
There
Let's go.
were obviously things that I do like about episode 8, but just as an episode in general, I think 8
I
leading
like it
into
better than
9. I would have to rewatch it.
I like it better than 9.
If I like it better,
the what it could have made into the future. I was like, oh my gosh, I am completely on board with having Rey and Kylo just drop the past and being like, we're neither the Jedi or the Sith. Let's actually just come together and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe keeping balance means just deleting the past. I was like, that sounds great, but yeah, no, guess that didn't happen in the end. I was like, okay, fine.
I don't know. So I think there's still a future for the sequel characters. It only depends on if the actors want to come back. It sounds like John Boyega.
He was like, nah.
No,
Nah.
dude. Yeah, John. And to a lot of people, including John Boyega, they feel like his character journey was robbed. Like he had a great setup. He was supposed to have a huge arc in episode 9, and then like in the original script for Duel of Fates, and then it was like, nope, that's not happening. And then you just because of for The Last Jedi, and I don't know, all these things just lead back to the decision of going off the blueprint. That was the biggest mistake. And that's why I think the sequel trilogy ended up being flawed, because they didn't follow that blueprint of what Star Wars is. And when The Last Jedi ended up being its own thing and having not one, but multiple plot holes in it. And to me, the biggest one, and always will be, is Holdo not telling Poe the plan. All Holdo had to do was tell Poe the plan and no one would have died. And,
Why didn't he just, wait and listen, huh?
Well, no, she actually was being, very aggressive towards him and being like, I've known flyboys like you all my life, and I'm not going to tell you squat, so I can make myself feel better. So, haha. And then Poe's like, all right, well, I don't feel like what you're doing is right, so I will go on the offensive, and I'm going to talk to these guys and see what they can do. And they're like, I'm going to find the code breaker. And they go to this casino planet, 45 minutes. They don't even get the right code breaker. And then they thank you. And then they end up going back to the ship. The guy betrays them. And then all these people get killed because Holdo just had to tell him the plan. Stupidest plot hole ever to me, man. I was just like, dude, no. Because if you go back to all the other Star Wars movies, there is no big plot hole like that. That was my biggest thing about The Last Jedi. I think that there are elements of the movie that I like, but to me, that's the biggest plot hole. So I just get upset every time I watch it.
9 is worse in my opinion.
I think the ending was weak. I think the ending for episode 9 could have.
Why is Palpatine back? I would just because.
But they explained that in a comic. They explained that in a comic,
How
my
is
dude.
it? How is it done?
You actually don't know?
No.
Okay, so shortly after the events of Empire Strikes Back, right? Vader goes to Exegol, confronts the Emperor, sees everything he's planning, including these Star Destroyers, right? And then they just never talk about it. So now the plot hole leads to the events of Return of the Jedi. Vader could have totally been like, help me take this mask off. And then been like, all right, so just let you know, there's a whole planet with a bunch of Star Destroyers. I'm just letting you know. All right, I'm out.
Luke,
bye. Yeah.
Listen closely.
Yeah. No,
Emperor
seriously.
is planning.
That is a canon comic. And
wait, so how does he come back?
What? Wait, who?
You said that
clones, right?
So, So they kind of followed the story of Legends of where Palpatine put his Force essence into a clone, and he just kept doing.
So this is a clone,
but it's got his Force essence, so it's like it's him.
So it's like his soul.
He is putting
another
his
version
soul
of his body
into another version of his body because of he's the ultimate Sith Lord and he's read all these Sith novels that explain how you can do it.
Death is a concept invented by the Jedi.
Yeah, do it. I am the Senate forever.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jedi am. Jedi would like you to be.
Yeah, so I don't know, man.
I feel like that's a harder and more complicated thing to explain, and it brings up much more of a plot hole than I think a Holdo maneuver does. Because at the end of the day, people are going to die in Star Wars and whatever, and I don't really care if she just goes, you know what? I'm going to just smash into the ship and die and all this stuff, because at the end of the day, I could still see that happening. But whatever is happening with Palpatine and them just being like, I don't know, guess what? I'm going to take all of this.
Right.
And I'm not going to explain it because I am the kind of person that doesn't like to explain things. And I'm going to let the fans and the other people pick up the slack. And we're going to take the concept, and move it somewhere else. And I've never liked that.
Okay, so in the original script for Episode 9, Duel of Fates, the Emperor was never supposed to come back at all. And Kylo Ren was never going to be redeemed. And most of the story took place on Coruscant. It was a very dark story. There's an actual scene and concept art of where the rebels, where the resistance really, overpowers the First Order, and General Hux loses all hope. He pulls out Mace Windu's lightsaber and takes his own life. And it was like, that was going to be in Episode 9. It was supposed to be a very dark, script. It was supposed to have that Return of the King vibe to it. And they just butchered it because of they went off blueprint. That's honestly the main thing that happened.
I think they listened to the fan lashback and they were like, we need to change things.
I just think that was a poor decision, and that's why
because
Force Awakens was a good start.
Lashback.
Force Awakens was good in my opinion because it made us ask a lot of questions like, who's Snoke? Like, where on earth has he been all this time? And then you get to Episode 8, and everything that the Force Awakens built everything up to be was like, nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. Rey is no one. And then you go to the same director that made Episode 7 is just like, actually everything that you said was wrong is actually right. Rey is someone. She's a Palpatine. And it's like, okay,
the whole
but in the last movie
like
you said she was no one.
Fighting. That's why I don't like 9. 9 is the worst in my opinion, because it's just trying to play catch up. And then in the process they dumb down the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll always like 8 more than 9. Only because it dumbs down the original trilogy, adds more stupid stuff, and basically was just like, all right, I don't know how this happened. Here you go. Yeah. It's just happening now. I'm like, okay.
No, I think I think the sequel trilogy has great concepts, and I think that it's a very interesting timeline. But I just wish that certain characters were treated better, because now, like what we were talking about earlier, Mason, which was the Mandalorian is trying to do what the Clone Wars did, which was trying to make the prequels more like more watchable, more better, because at the time, honestly, everyone that says, oh, I love the prequels growing up, there are a lot of people that were bashing on the prequels, like a lot. Until the Clone Wars came out. Until the Clone Wars came out and Obi-Wan Kenobi, then people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cool! Like all these characters are great." And honestly, what they're doing,
that's why I feel like they're gonna try and use Grogu to try and fix their issue.
They are using the Mandalorian, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, all of these to kind of build up to what the sequel trilogy is, and they're mainly focusing that story in Mandalorian, because of I could just see the show kind of leading into where we start seeing the birth of the First Order and the founder of the First Order and all that stuff. And then not only that, I could definitely see that like someone of the at least one of the characters, not Luke, but one of the other characters in the show The Mandalorian, seeing Mando. Of seeing the Emperor, or Snoke in some way where it's like someone knew about the Emperor coming back, but they didn't make it, and it's just something that I think would be very interesting, because there's a lot of leaked stuff apparently that will make us appreciate the sequels more. That's going to be happening in this season. I will tell you guys after this. But yeah, no.
I don't know if I'll ever like the sequel movies, but I do think if they got supporting content that I could be convinced to like the sequel era, because I love the design and I love the characters so much.
Era is not movie. That is a great statement.
Mm-hmm. I love the design of the First Order Stormtroopers. I love the Redux, or the reimagination of the rebellion of the Resistance. I think is really cool. I like the new starfighters and their sleek looks, and I like the stories that come out of them. The movies, however, I felt were a mess because it was a lot of directors trying to pull things in their own direction instead of follow the story. That's why I would like to see the movies reimagined as well, even if it's just like in a Legends collection of like what could have been. But that's not going to happen.
No,
obviously. I feel like Disney as a company has a pride to keep. But,
I think okay, so I think this is something else as well that that we should think about, is you could definitely tell with the sequel trilogy is that the directors were competing against each other. Everyone in every single like different movie was kind of competing, because you could definitely feel the Last Jedi was trying to cancel out some of the things that happened in Force Awakens, and then you've got the Rise of Skywalker, which did the exact same thing to the Last Jedi, and it felt like
I feel like the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker was just insulting.
I just felt like they were trying to make jabs at each other, and it was kind of pointless. But now if you go to the other live action series, which is like Mando and Obi-Wan Kenobi and all of these shows are not competing with each other. They're working together to add to the canon and not jab at other things that have happened in the other shows. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's what should have happened with the sequel trilogy, but we didn't get that. Mm-hmm. We did not get that at all.
The reason I feel it's insulting is because it's a lot of smash cut stuff in like 5-10 second intervals. And it's just like, here's this. That's
a fair statement.
This is why this doesn't make sense. This is why this doesn't make sense. Okay, so we're gonna make this make sense, and this is why this doesn't make sense. So here's what actually happened. I feel like that's like the entire first half of them, and it's not just insulting to the previous director, but it's insulting to us as a fan base. It's almost it almost feels like you're not allowed to enjoy that last story because it's not right. It's not the right story, and that's not how that should be, and that's why I think everyone hates those movies.
Mhm.
On some level there, but anyways,
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's really all for this week. We are approaching Andor coming up here pretty soon. And you've got D23 coming up in September. You've got a lot of things coming up. So very exciting stuff. But we are on Patreon, guys. We all love our community. We love our community on there. We're very active. We also
love
have
you.
Discord.
we love our community in general. We love everyone.
I was getting there. Patience. Dang.
All right.
My goodness.
All
You know
right,
what?
all
You
right.
know what? Okay. So yeah, no, no, we love all of our community. You were putting words in my mouth, sir. I didn't
Dang
appreciate
right, Colin.
that.
Dang right.
But we love our Patreon community as well. We are very active with them on Discord. Yes, Josh.
I love you all as well.
Yes, we. Okay. And then we're on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod. We're on TikTok, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Facebook, we have a great community on there, and we all love you too.
I'm messing with you.
We have
Dramatic.
I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I'm out of it. I'm tired. Long day. And we have the Star Wars Stuff Podcast Gmail. We love hearing from you guys. We love all your emails. We're also on Audible. Who would like to talk about Audible? Josh, Mason, Ad, anyone?
Mason
I don't
would
know
love
if I'm
to
the
talk
I don't know
about
if I'm the right person.
Let's
to
go,
talk. All right,
Mason.
well, if you insist, guys, go out, get a free book. Reading is cool. Come and watch Book Club on Patreon. It's pretty awesome. We're reviewing Brotherhood right now. If you go out, use that Audible trial, go and rent out the book Brotherhood. It's all about what happens sort of post Attack of the Clones. It's about that business on Cato Nemoidia that's mentioned in the movies. It's very good. It's a very good book. Not gonna lie. One of my favorite side characters in the entire series of Star Wars is in it, Dexter Jettster, and he plays a pretty big role. So if you want, you could go get that book, read it alongside us, and we can talk about it. Find a way to talk about
Audible.
Yes.
Listen
It reads
to
it
it
for you.
alongside.
Yeah,
Oh
there
my
we
God.
go. Hey.
Whatever.
Audibletrial.com/stuff podcast. Wow. Please go on Apple Podcast and give us a review. We would love to hear from you. And please go on our YouTube. We're on YouTube,
Give
guys.
Colin in particular a 1-star review.
You do realize people will listen to you. So, wow. Okay. Well, you know what? At least I've seen Lord of the Rings and I didn't get inspired. I don't think that Donald Glover is my favorite. No, wait. I'm sorry.
Donald Glover made me fall in love with.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Lando is only good because of Donald Glover.
Yes,
Nope,
not Billy
that's
D.
not what
Williams.
that means.
Because
Not
of
what that phrase
Donald
means.
Glover. Donald Glover made
me love
Lando
the
the
character.
man that he is.
Nope,
What
don't
Mason
think that's the
says.
case. Don't think that's the case.
Those are your
But
exact words, sir.
I think Donald Glover.
We're also on
definitely
We're also on
made
Twitter
Lando catch my attention.
as W Stuff 77, and So, guys, thank you so much for listening.
Podcast
We love you all, and may the force be with you
Always. Yeah.